night of football all over the Lone Star State. Could the cream of the crop in 6A stay unbeaten? East Texas is the home of a classic 5A battle. And in the DF Dub, it's a Plano sibling rivalry. And the DQ bus takes us down to the Gulf. Scoreboard Live strikes right now. Game of the night, Channel View and North Shore, and this one would be an absolute shootout. We pick up the action in the third. North Shore's Keenan Sneed breaking free, going down the sideline. 35 yards for the touchdown. The Mustangs in control. But Channel View will enjoy the view responding. Marching it down the field, Jalen Hurts finishes the drive on an 18-yard run. Then, on the last play of the game, Channel View with the chance to win it. Jalen Hurts. No, this is a big running play that would end up being a score, so they retake the lead, North Shore. And then Channel View with the chance to win it. Apparently, this is not the highlight that I have, but I can tell you Channel View goes on to win the game with the Hail Mary. And here it is, Jalen Hurts to Bryant Valentine Jr., and it's Valentine's Day. 49-48, the final. Channel View going on to win over perennial power Galena Park North Shore. Some of our monitors are black and white, so hard to tell the difference in the color of the uniforms there, but you get the idea.
You had a little bit of bonus Dripping Springs and Eastview there.
Yeah, and that was fun to watch, too. All right, welcome into the greatest high school football show on earth, starring the most influential broadcaster in the state, Craig Way. I'm Rick Renner. What a night of rivalry games. We got the Battle of the Royal, and we got the Bell, the Gulf Coast Showdown between state finalists Shiner and Refugio, the Richmond rivalry in the greater Houston area, 12 state rings on the line between Stephenville and Brownwood, Cuero, Yoakum for the 104th time. Not only are these great games, but they mean something.
Yeah, because now in district play, and you know, one of the funny things is that we've been talking the last couple of weeks about how things have been kind of quiet and calm, and then district play had been slowly ramping up. It hit with a bang tonight, much like the thunderstorms that roared across the state of Texas. So you sit back because you're about to see some rock'em sock'em highlights from the top classification from 6A all the way down to 2A and everything, all points in between.
It comes as no surprise that the DeSoto Eagles are soaring again. They've won their first 14 games the last 2 seasons, only to lose to eventual champ Allen both times. This week, they're ranked number 2 behind, guess who? Allen, who may be more vulnerable this time around. Nevertheless, Claude Mathis and his boys are rolling into their matchup with Mansfield tonight. So many playmakers, so little time. We pick it up 7-7, and it's Jalen Nelson showing his moves, breaking tackles, and breaking free as he will go all the way. Look at number 12, using his blockers and getting into the end zone, 14-7 DeSoto. And that would be the score at the end of the first quarter. Second frame now, 21-14. Big special teams play. Justin's Middleton blocks DeSoto's punt, and Rashawn Lewis recovers. The score's now 21-all. Then Nelson scrambling and finding James Brochet downfield, and he's going to score. Wait. Oh, my goodness. Is there a fumble? No. He will take it in. 49. There is a fumble on the play into the end zone, but DeSoto recovers. They win it 49-21. They're 6-0.
In the top 10, another team. Manville is number 6. DeSoto was number 2. And Manville against Dawson. Dawson, a little razzle-dazzle early on. Brett Winnigan to Reneke Rainier. Hit Zach Smith in the end zone. 7-0 Dawson. Manville with the answer. It's Krylon Clay. Takes it in. Tie score at 7. Then the Manville defense. The pick 6. Will Lockett reads it. Takes it 36 yards for the score. Mavs on top 14-7. Derek King, second touchdown of the night. Finds Reggie Hemphill. Match 21-7 after 1 at UC. Mavericks then really get on a roll, and Manville wins this one, going away 62-35. Cibolo Steel also in the top 10. Going into San Antonio, taking on Wagner and the Thunderbirds. 7th-ranked Knights, strong all day on the defense. Jordan Batson sacked by Gage McGarry. Then the stop sets up the Williams connection. Jalen Harris, 34-yard touchdown catch. Steele goes on, and they win this one handily. The final score, 31-7 over Wagner.
Craig, the Steele defense might be their best defense ever, and that is saying something. As we take a look at the top 10, the Haka Dance is back at Euless Trinity. The Trojans are rolling people now 7-0. I love that Brennan team down in San Antonio going for 30 straight regular season wins against Warren on Saturday.
Yeah, remember moving up in classification after being a 4A Division I finalist a year ago. And, of course, that would mean they would be a 5A team with all the numbers going up. But they're 6A and looking good so far.
History in the making at Mesquite Horn tonight. Highland Park has won 36 district games in a row until tonight against the Jaguars. First quarter, Jags up 14-7. Jordan Shavers gets the handoff. He'll break a tackle and get into the end zone. That caps off 21 unanswered points for Horn in the first. Then third quarter, Chris Robeson to Jerrison Stewart, who avoids the defender and makes a nice cut and gets into the end zone. His fourth touchdown of the night, 35-14 Jags. Then in the fourth, 2 Scott touchdowns have cut the deficit to 7. But then 290-pound defensive lineman Dalen Morgan will take it in. Look at those running back skills in that guy. 42-27, the final in that one. And with that, let's bring in Corbett Smith, who carpooled with Matt Wixon to the Horn upset tonight. Or was it? Corbett, Highland Park has won 81 of their previous 82 games in district until tonight. But this is a different deal now that they've moved up to 6A.
Yeah, when they released the UIL's reclassification numbers and everybody said, ooh, Highland Park has finally made that move to 6A after such a long stretch there in Class 4A, people look to this game against a Horn program who's been great. I mean, Rodney Webb transformed this program, turned them into a playoff contender, and that has continued in his absence. They've got some great playmakers. Jerrison Stewart, one of the best playmakers I've seen all year. 3 receiving touchdowns, had a 67-yard punt return there for the score, and he was really the difference maker. They kind of let Highland Park get back into this game in the end of the first half and in the second half, especially with those back-to-back scores to cut it within a score. But Horn showed that composure, which is what teams generally lack against HP. Teams to generally fall apart because of that winning tradition. Randy Allen always seems to be able to pull out the rabbit out of his hat, but not tonight as Highland Park goes down.
So, Corbett, with 6A being overpopulated and chock full of teams from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, I know you've been asked about it a lot. I've been asked about it a lot. Allen is number 1, and they've won 2 in a row, but they might or might not necessarily be the best team in the state. Might they? What's your thoughts on who the best 6A team is in the state? Obviously, probably from the Metroplex, but who's number 1 in your mind?
I've ranked DeSoto in my state poll number 1. I've also ranked DeSoto in our Sports Day HS poll, the Dallas Morning News. Dallas Morning News actually has Allen number 2 to DeSoto, and the reason is just because DeSoto's defense is so much stronger than Allen. Allen has struggled on the defensive side of the ball. They graduated so many great players, both outside linebackers going to high major conferences, lost a lot in the secondary. DeSoto, they haven't necessarily played as great as you would want them to, but remember, they have had injuries. Tristan Wallace, their quarterback, he suffered a broken ankle, and he'll be out probably past the Cedar Hill game. He probably won't play in that game. They also lost Jatori Sparks-Brown, a running back who's committed to San Diego State. They lost him to an ACL injury. He's gone for the year. So they've had some injuries they've had to overcome, and yet they've got so much talent on both sides of the ball. I continue to see them rolling through. Remember, this should be a matchup in the second round of the playoffs where you could potentially see Allen and DeSoto square off. The big question mark will be that Mansfield team that we saw. Can Mansfield make the playoffs? If Mansfield doesn't and Duncanville and South Grand Prairie advance, people won't get to see the Allen-DeSoto matchup because DeSoto will be going Division II, and you could eventually see a rematch in the regional final between Cedar Hill and DeSoto. Wouldn't that be a great game?
Wow, that would be unbelievable. Kind of an edge for DeSoto if they go Division II. Thanks, Corbett. Appreciate it. Check them out in Sports Day HS in the Dallas Morning News. We simulcast the 1310 The Ticket radio show with David Newberry on Friday night starting at 11 o'clock right here on Fox. Craig, the Metroplex has produced so many champions, and boy, they're looking strong right now. Let's take a break. On the show, we're just getting the party started here on Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, East Texas, Austin, as Craig tries to make some sense out of topsy-turvy 25-5A. Back in a flash.
High School Scoreboard Live is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer now for great deals during the Built Ford Tough Sales event. by DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas. Stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com to get to a better state.
Aaron Hardigan welcoming you back into High School Scoreboard Live. And with this week's recruiting look, giving you a glance at the state's 10 best defensive backs. A nice even mix of junior and senior corners and safeties you see here, led by Fort Bend Marshall's Kendall Sheffield, Nacogdoches junior Brandon Jones, and Alabama commit Deontay Thompson rounding out that top three. Now, the only other two verbally committed in this defensive backs group are safeties, Justin Dunning of White House and Larry Pryor of Sulphur Springs, both looking to continue their careers at Texas A&M, which would make Sheffield and Gilmer's Chris Boyd the only seniors still up for grabs, as well as all 5 juniors. Jones leading the 2016 class with Manville's Deontay Anderson, Saxe's Jared Maiden, Galena Park North Shore's Erica Monroe, and Allen's Jalen Jones, all sitting the Lone Star best in the secondary this football season. For highlights of them, let's get you back to Rick and Craig.
Thanks, Aaron. Justin Dunning's White House looking for its first district win against Ennis. Try again, the Lions too much in this one. Devin Smith with the fake handoff here, keeps it, and he would be in for the easy score. Now White House gets on the board with the touchdown. Eric Munoz from quarterback action Jackson Allen. Then later, Ennis showing it on defense, and they got a really well-rounded team. Denton Geyer was pushed by those guys. Final score, 29-14, Ennis rolls White House.
What two schools are old district rivals? Lufkin and John Tyler. JT up 3-0 first quarter. And then Trey Cumbie to Terry Mark touchdown. 7-3, Lufkin on top. Then it's Gio McAllister on the carry. Fumbled it, lost it. Panthers recover. Lufkin kicks a field goal. The Pack on top by a score of 10-3. Second quarter now at 10-6, and JT mounting a drive. Gio McAllister to Nick Kane over the middle. Nice gain there. Drive stalls. McAllister would then, under pressure, be taken down by Jacob Mark. Under a minute to go in the quarter. Cumbie then to Kiki Kuti. Finds him. This is going to be a great catch here. 17-6, but look at the comeback. JT with it, the final 26-24. And going back to the Metroplex, the Battle of the Mansfuse, Timberview, and Lake Ridge late in the second. This one lofted to Braylon Royal. Wide open, takes it in for the touchdown. Then it's quarterback Jalil Kilpatrick. He'll take this one himself in for the score. And the T-Wolves, who've been state-ranked all season long, not stopped now. Quarterback Zeke Kawaya keeps it on the option and goes 45 yards. Timberview goes on to win this one big, 56-14.
Back to Austin, Craigers. Don't forget about 8th-ranked Georgetown and those Eagles who took it out on Marble Falls tonight. Here's the quarterback sensation, Big Ben Bottlinger to Javonta Glimble for the touchdown. That made it 7-0 Eagles. Then later in the first, Marble Falls, running back Royale Brown. And it's downtown Brown taking it and turning it. And he'll tie this game at 7. Very competitive early on. But Bottlinger, he is a fantastic quarterback to Dakota Cahill. Georgetown up 14-7. They go on to roll big, 62-35.
You know, Georgetown's only loss was to Cedar Park. And then, of course, Cedar Park won the title a couple of years ago. Take a look at the top 10 there. And Georgetown is the only state-ranked team out of that district right now, 25-5A. See, we'll get to that Richmond Foster and George Ranch game a little later on, and you just saw highlights of John Tyler and Lufkin. So Georgetown's only loss was to Cedar Park. They won the title 2 years ago. Now, in 25-5A, you think about this. Georgetown loses to Cedar Park. Cedar Park got upset by Dripping Springs. Meanwhile, Vandegrift beat Marble Falls. Vandegrift then loses to Eastview. Eastview loses to Vista Ridge, and Vista Ridge then gets ready to take on Vandegrift. Got all that? Doesn't matter. It seems confused. To change every week. So what would happen? First, as we go to the town of Cedar Park and Leander, AC Bible Junior Memorial Stadium in Cedar Park and Leander, rivalry there, and Amir Alser finds Colin Kramer in the end zone for the touchdown. Leander comes back, wide receiver Morgan Sanner on the reverse, and then finds Jeffrey Parsa wide open for the score. Game tied at 7. After that, however, all CP. T-Wolves do it. Alser finds Jake Egelcio over the middle. He'll do the rest. Cedar Park takes their rivalry matchup from Leander, 41-12. So you now have an undefeated Vista Ridge at 5-0, taking on a 4-1 Vandegrift. In the fourth quarter, it's Travis Brandon, 19 yards. His 5th touchdown of the night gives Vandegrift its first lead of the night at 49-42. Just over a minute to go. Delonte Singleton, his 3rd touchdown of the night. Game tied at 49. Now 29 seconds to go. Vandegrift with the ball. This one tipped and picked. Intercepted. Then this thing winds up going into overtime. Matthew Snow afterwards, turning around the corner in OT, right down to the goal line. Singleton there, and then it's Snow, the keeper, straight ahead, in for the touchdown. Vista Ridge wins it, 56-52. The Rangers, their first ever 6-0 start as they win that crazy game over Vandegrift. So, Vista Ridge with the win. The architect of what's going on there at the Ridge is Rodney Vincent, the head coach of the Rangers, who joins us right now. Rodney, just looking at the highlights, the thing looked crazy. You said your heart took a beating on this one tonight. Talk about what was going through everybody's mind in those waning seconds of regulation and then in overtime.
Well, Craig, it was just a hard-fought game by all the kids from Vandegrift and Vista Ridge both. And I was so proud of our kids for fighting back, and our coaching staff. And it was an up and down roller coaster in another big 25-5-8 game.
Coach, awesome win tonight. It seems like every year you start out 5-0, but this win is what state champions are kind of born on, winning a close one against a really good rival, looking at this district and how things shake out. Do you feel like your bunch now has an opportunity to reach the next level? You're 6-0 for the first time.
Well, the funny thing about our district, Rick, is there's so much left for us to do, a lot of work ahead. I mean, in our district, you know, where we're sitting right now, we're certainly blessed to be where we're at, but we still have a lot of work just to get a playoff spot. And each and every week in our district, you've got to treat every one of them like a playoff game. That's what our kids have done so far, and we're going to focus on the one that's next week.
Ronnie, the other thing that comes to mind is to win in this district, you have to have playmakers, and you certainly have those, and you've had to undergo some substitute plug-in guys because of injuries, but your quarterback, Matt Snow, really picked up the slack for a little while, and then even with Vandegrift trying to clamp down on him, he found some other weapons today.
I was really proud of our offense and our offensive staff. Snow and those guys did a great job of taking what Vandegrift was given to them. Vandegrift did a good job of containing Snow in that first part of the game, and then he was able to get the ball to some other guys, and they did a really good job executing. But all of it starts up front with our offensive line. Those guys have continued to improve each week, and to allow those guys to make some plays.
Great win. Thanks so much for joining us, Rodney. Get some rest. Enjoy this one this weekend, because I know you got to get ready for that next one in the topsy-turvy 25-5A. Well, coming up next, we're going to relive that Channel View game because it came down to a Hail Mary. You can see all the highlights. Plus, we'll talk about the 12 state titles on the line between the Ville and Brownwood. Could Stephenville come out smelling like #1 again? And imagine two brothers coaching against each other in the same city. Mom and Dad would have to choose favorites tonight, and we got it all next. Game of the night in the greater Houston area, Channel View and North Shore. Galena Park, they're having a tough year this year, but here's Keenan Sneed breaking free along the sideline. A 35-yard TD. Galena Park North Shore led this one most of the way. Then Channel View responds. Jalen Hurts finishes the drive, makes it hurt from 18 yards out. Then, on the very last play of the game, Channel View enjoying the view. Jalen Hurts, you're perfect. Hail Mary, kept it in bounds. And look at Bryant Valentine Jr. Snags it out of the air for the game winner. It's Valentine's Day as Channel View wins at 49-48. What a win for those guys. They're now just one loss on the season. That was a huge one, a bounce-back victory for them. And congratulations to our Built Ford Tough Player of the Week winners, Bobby Chacon of Stevens High, who had back-to-back 400-yard passing nights. In 5A, Carson Cook of Wiley is not only a stud football player, but he's also all-district, all-region in golf. Chase Hammock of Andrews, who quarterbacked the showdown and won over Big Spring and Tobin Tannehill. In 3A, Brett Gilchrist sports a 3.97 GPA, led Whitney to their first win over McGregor in 30 years. Rylan Laminack of Cross Plains runs at about 9 yards a carry, and a straight-A student in Trent Franson of Lutheran South Academy and Private Schools. Nominate your favorite player at playeroftheweek.com.
Let's go up to the Red River Valley, and it's Wiley taking on Denison on homecoming night, where they honored the 1984 state championship team. But, of course, one guy deserving of honors, the aforementioned Carson Cook, the Wiley quarterback, in for the touchdown. Pirates on top 7-0. Then at 14-0, it's Cook with a shovel to Tristan Clark. He takes it. This thing went back and forth, however, and Wiley does win it over Denison 30-24.
So let's take a look at the Class 4A top 10, and everything pretty much going as planned. Everybody a winner, including Stephenville in the big rivalry with Brownwood and all those state titles between those two teams.
As you would say in soccer parlance, Rico, that's a clean sheet there when you look at there at the top 10 there. LaGrange continues to be one of the teams that quietly gets another 7-0 now, the first to get to 7-0 this season. And Gilmer on the road beating Melissa. Those East Texas teams, look at how they've populated the bottom of it there. Van, Gladewater, and Atlanta in the 8, 9, and 10 spots, and they all win tonight.
Lee Fedora at Navasota, how about that? He coached his 200th all-time game there and getting it done in the victory.
He only won by 75 today.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's pretty impressive, 87-12. All right, tonight in Plano, the McCullough Bowl. Two brothers going at it as head coaches of Plano Senior High and Plano East. Now, the rivalry goes all the way back to when they were kids, when the older Jadon would play Houdini. He would tie up his younger brother, Joey, and see if he could escape. The game almost backfired, though, when he forgot about his younger brother, tied up in a sleeping bag, and hanging out of the window for about 2 hours. Well, payback may happen tonight. So let's go to Plano for a Plano sibling rivalry. And it was a good one. Brandon Stevens so good up the middle here, off to the races, and a 47-yard score. They missed the extra point that gives Plano the 13-0 advantage. Then the mighty Quinn Waterbury with a 50-yard TD pass. Trust me, he gets in and out of the raindrops, 20-0, and they would hold on to win it 34-6. So big brother beats little brother.
That's a great story to see both of those guys going at one another there. And also, this was a week where there were a lot of great traditional rivalries. Plano East, certainly one of those. Midland, Lee, Odessa, Permian. There were several of those old traditional rivalries that happened to kick in week 6 this week.
I think it's kind of funny, too. A lot of teams in good rivalries, but then other teams that are creating new rivalries that have never played each other because now they're in the same district.
Well, or even brand new rivalries. We were just talking, of course, with Rodney Vincent there at Vista Ridge. Vista Ridge and Vandegrift. There's so many new schools in that Leander School District. Vista Ridge and Vandegrift, Rouse, which is now a 6A school. So there are new rivalries being created in the Round Rock School District. Cedar Ridge, which looks really good, and they won their ball game beating Pflugerville on Thursday night. So new schools creating new rivalries to supplement all of those old traditional rivalries.
Let's take a break here on Scoreboard Live. When we come back, we'll take a holiday in Henrietta.
Pass to the end
check
zone.
on the 60th Battle of the Bell. And a stunner, an absolute stunner in College Station as Brian took it to A&M Consolidated. Highlights and reaction next on Fox Sports Southwest.
Passing in the night. Now, I don't want to kick dirt on Cameron Road just yet. After all, the Yeomen are a defending state champion. But Rockdale last year made it all the way to the state quarterfinals in 3A Division II. And then Yo, of course, won a 2A Division I state title. Well, now Rockdale and Yo meet, and Rockdale on an uptick, ranked 3rd in the state, undefeated. Yo struggling after a couple of early losses. All of that, and they're playing for a bell. It's the Battle of the Bell, as these two would get together. Well, after stopping the Yeomen at the 3-yard line, Rockdale drives the field. Tigers go to work. Dylan McCartney's pass picked off by John Washington. Game still scoreless. The Tigers do score in the first drive of the second quarter. It's McCartney. He's looking for Ringo or George or any other. McCartney finds Pierce Law for the touchdown. 21 yards, scores 20. It's 7-0 Rockdale. Still 7-0. Yeoman score with under a minute left in the half. Reed Nickerson to Sakori Smith. And this thing was a shootout back and forth. Rockdale wins. They're still unbeaten. They beat the Yeomen 34-27.
So let's roll out the top 10 of 3A here, courtesy of the good people at State Farm. Rockdale is still ringing the bell right now, Craig, to the tune of 6-0. That bell's been broken several times. It fell in a river, and superfan Catherine Thomas bought him a new bell in 2001. That thing's still going.
Hey, they are tough in Milam County down there in the Super Syntax.
Yeah, but how about Yo? This is a team looking for the three-peat, 3 losses.
Yep, yeah, difficult for them, and they'll have to, kick it in high gear to make sure they're in the postseason. I keep telling you about Corrigan Camden, Rico, and they win again big over Crockett in this one. Jim, Ned, and Wall were supposed to play. Bad storms out in the Big Country region and in the Concho Valley. Speaking of big, how about the Teague win over Kemp? Malakoff over Palestine Westwood. Couple of weeks, Teague and Malakoff. Keep an eye up for that one. Wascom wins that shootout over Art. That figured to be good, and Blanco easy over Stockdale.
Yeah, I like that Corrigan Camden team. You've been talking about them for a while. Stunner in a crosstown showdown between Bryan A&M Consolidated. Second frame. Bryan already up 28-6, and Kiki Johnson gets the handoff, gets the edge, and he gets the touchdown. Vikings up 35-6. Looking like a blowout, but the Tigers respond. Tyree Merchant gets the handoff. He'll juke a defender, and he'll get it in. A 5-point game in the fourth. What a game. But the Vikings hold on. Johnson gets it again, tries to go right, nothing there, so he'll go left. And Ryan wins at 56-44, and that is your final. Pretty impressive stuff there to win that one.
Yeah, big in the Brazos Valley, and just when you think you have a handle on A&M Consolidated, they confound you again.
Let's take a break. We got so much more coming up, including the DQ Big Game of the Week in the Coastal Bend region. Let's roll out the Bill Ford Tough Player of the Week watch list. These are some of the guys we're keeping an eye on. For high school's greatest honor, Prestonwood's Twain Blackwell is doing well. He's an exciting dual-threat quarterback playing receiver this year. Matthew Merrick has a couple of Ivy schools interested, Colgate, Columbia, plus Oregon State and Nevada in the biggest little city in the world, Reno. North Shore, stud running back Tristan Houston is Longhorn bound. He'll run for, 2,000 yards and 40 touchdowns again. Look out, there's another Cosby on the way from Mart. DeMarcus, only a junior, has the Panthers thinking title again. And the big-looking receiver, Courtney Lark of Houston Bel Air, one of the most productive junior receivers in the state.
DeMarcus Cosby, the cousin of Quan and Quince Cosby.
Yeah. We got to get him to Texas, right? Nominate your favorite player at playeroftheweek.com based on performances on and off the field. Well, check out this picture from last year's George Ranch Richmond Foster game, the whiteout game. That's Chandler Parsons on the right. He was a member of the Houston Rockets then. A student saw him at the mall just walking around, asked him if he wanted to come to the game that night, and sure enough, he shows up. That young man, by the way, was Jordan Sanders, the grandson of big shot Bob Ortigal, our Dallas Mavericks analyst, and Parsons is now a member of the Dallas Mavericks. So that's how the world comes full circle.
Chandler may wind up at a Metroplex game here before too much longer.
To the Richmond rivalry. Relatively new schools in a showdown, Foster and George Ranch, and that's Mr. Darius Anderson. Look at him working his way down, missing all kinds of tacklers there, and George Ranch wins the Richmond rivalry 41-17.
That's impressive. Foster been ranked ahead of them. Now we go to Oak Ridge and Atascocita at the 7. It's Dwayne Whittingham for the score. 21-10 Atascocita with the lead. Then the defense comes up with a big play. Pass. This one, after some desperation, goes picked off. Taken by Dominique Harrison, looking for the big return. Now he'll be pulled down inside the 10, fumbled it, but the Eagles recover at the 7. A few plays later, Campbell will finish the drive. He'll dive in, takes this one in, and it was 28-10 in the fourth quarter. It's Daenerys Gibson with a carry, 6 more there, 35-10 Atascocita. At that point, Eagles go on and get the win in this one, 49-27.
Craig, a huge statement game for Houston, Lamar, and Bel Air, and it's all Lamar and the Texans. Wow. 49-20 as they improve to 5-1.
Changed their team name this year, went from Redskins to Texans, and Tom Nolan just kind of keeps quietly building them back again. They're going to be a weapon come postseason.
You do that, new uniforms, suddenly you get new atmosphere, excitement, and with that, let's bring in the voice of reason in Houston, Ahmad Vital of Scout.com. He was at that Bel Air game. Ahmad, your impressions of what you saw tonight with these guys?
Lamar has always been able to have a good running game, but I think now that it's been pepped up on a little bit of adrenaline. Definitely Ronnie Wesley and Tyree Gray make a good combo in the backfield, but when you add somebody as fast as J.W. Ketchum is, it just electrifies everything. I think he accounted for 5 touchdowns tonight, over 260 yards on the ground. When this guy turns the corner, it is game over. There was nobody on the field who could catch him. He made the plays he needed to down the stretch, and this running game is just downright nasty for Lamar right now.
You know, one thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago is these Richmond schools, George Ranch and Foster. They finally do battle tonight, and George Ranch kind of dominated the game there. Did that surprise you a little bit that Foster was beaten by 24 points?
Actually, Craig, not really. If you recall, I watched George Ranch play and dominate against Port Arthur Memorial about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and with Darius Anderson and Xavion Marks in that backfield, that's an explosive team over there. There are playmakers all over the field for those guys. And so, you know, obviously going against a tough Foster team that's just been doing well and state ranked. But that George Ranch team is no joke either. And I'm actually not surprised at all that they were able to go head-to-head and just really put it on a good Foster team tonight.
Thanks, Simon. Great stuff. Check them out at scout.com. Coming up next, the Coastal Bend Showdown. That will knock your socks off. 4 state title rings on the line between #1 Refugio and 7th-ranked Shiner. Both state runner-ups last year. Highlights and reaction next.
State Farm, this is
#1 Refugio and 7th-ranked Shiner. Both 5-0. Somebody's O must go. We pick things up in the first quarter. Chad Neubauer with the misdirection and the touchdown. Shiner leads at 6-0. Then here comes the Bobcats. Jalen Mascoro to Isaiah Perez. That would make it 7-6. Gosh, Refugio has so many playmakers. Boy, do they know how to score, and they can play some defense too. Then Mascoro finds Perez, who makes 1 to 2 moves, and he would be gone. A 40-yard touchdown here, and the Bobcats extend the lead to 14-6. Refugio stays unbeaten. They win in overtime. How about that? 34-28. Battle of 2 teams that were in the state championship games last year.
Yeah, good programs both. Obviously, they could go very deep in the playoffs, could wind up being state quarterfinal opponents as well. But you look down the top 10 there. First of all, Mart put a 93 on the board against the Wampus Cats of Itasca. They won that one really big. There were some other blowouts. Canadian over West Texas, certainly. Mason's Puncher beat Center Point tonight. That was a big win. Alto over Grapeland. But look at number 10. Stratford knocked off by a defending state champion. Those Wellington Skyrockets win 12-10.
And, you know, you look at the Bobcats of Refugio, they're not scoring 90 points like they used to every single game. But, boy, they look like they're back to their state championship self. Yeah,
they find a way to get it done. And another thing about them, it was in the fourth quarter. They were down by a score of 21-14. Scored a touchdown and actually had planned to go for 2. They had a false start call when they had kicked the extra point, ended up winning the game in overtime. I think we'll hear from both of those teams going into the postseason. You look at D1 in Class 2A with Mart, with Mason, with Refugio. I mean, it is loaded in 2A Division I.
You sure that wasn't Mart's basketball team, 93 points?
Tell me, that was something else.
Coming up next, another Coastal Bend Showdown for the DQ Big Game of the Week. Here is the Beezer.
Man, we've got a great way to kick off 3A play here in the district here in Goliad, Texas. The Tigers of Goliad hosting Hallettsville. Hallettsville, a pretty doggone good team. Brutal non-district schedule, though, so they dropped out of the state's top 10. Guess who's coming in?
Goliad! Tigers! Goliad! Tigers!
So we've got 2 fantastic teams. Should be a great game and a great way to kick off the district season. It's a big game. In fact, it is big enough to be our
DQ Big Game of the Week!
Okay, so you're
To El Paso, Chapin and Bowie. What a good game this one was. Chapin with the ball, and Leandre Williams will connect to Caleb Williams, and it's 54 yards for the touchdown. All the Williams brothers can play. Then Chapin at it again as Tyshawn Simon, and Simon says he'll spin away of the pack here and break free for the touchdown as Chapin would go on to defeat Bowie 40 12. Well, let's talk about skilled players. There's so many of them, and a familiar name at Somerset. Quarterback Coy Detmer Jr., possibly you know him. You've heard about his dad, who played quarterback for the Eagles, and of course his uncle, who won the Heisman Trophy. Well, down in Houston, there's a running back at King High, Travion Williams. Interest from Oklahoma State and Nebraska, and he has the numbers to prove it. 1,000 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns in his first 5 games. Let's start with Travion's 5-0 King team up against Barbers Hill. And this was a good one. Opening kickoff here. And check it out. King's Quentin Richards receives it, and he's going to take it up the field, break one, and he would be gone. Look at that separating speed. 100 yards for the touchdown, the longest kick return of the night. Barbers Hill would answer. Eaton Hill on the quarterback sneak. He plows in. Game tied at 7. Second frame now. Jonathan Brantley will call his own number, but it's 40-14, and King wins it.
Well, speaking of Coy Detmer, how about the young man in action there? Bulldogs. Detmer, Rafael Villarreal on the middle screen, and this one is going to go not quite to the house, but 68 yards, and Somerset in business. Looked like they were going to score. In fact, it looks like the ball's extended, but the officials say he's tackled at the 1-foot line. Don't worry, Somerset goes, hurry up, they'll punch it in, and they got it right. No, didn't get in, lost the ball. Picked up by Southside, and from there, afterwards, Somerset empties out the playbook as this one. Look at that nice play there on the big pass, halfback option. Then Matthew Collier in there. Southside rallies back in this one. And Southside gets the win over Somerset, 17-14.
Let's take a break. Coming up next on Scoreboard Live, we get the DQ Big Game of the Week from the Coastal Bend after this.
Back to Austin area at Round Rock. The Dragons at home at Dragon Stadium taking on Leander Rouse. Yeah, they're experiencing some growing pains, even though the Raiders get that one over the top. But that would be the only score that the Raiders, hey, the Royals were cheering there for the moment. But after that, the Raiders had tough going because the Dragons got their offense in gear. This is late first quarter. Great blocks on the pass. Dragons off and running. A look back there because Round Rock doesn't look back after that. Dragons, one of the contenders in District 14 6A, as Round Rock wins this one, going away from Rouse 36-16.
What a night to be a football fan in the Victoria Metropolitan Coastal Bend area. You got number 1 Refugio, and number 7 Shiner, the 104th meeting of Cuero and Yoakum, and the DQ Big Game of the Week featuring Goliad and Hallettsville. How do you even choose? And so, to have even more spice on your chicken strip basket at DQ, Hallettsville's star quarterback and principal dad moved to Goliad in the same role. Oh, and they're also district foes. Here's Neil Beasley with the Emmy Award-winning and nominated again and again DQ Big Game of the Week.
Hallettsville, Texas, carrying the flag for this week's DQ Big Game of the Week. All eyes are on the Brahmas as they kick off district play. The Fox Sports Southwest High School Express rolling into this beautiful campus, the home of the Texas Championship Domino Hall of Fame, also home to a lot of championship trophies at HHS.
And when you are in Hallettsville, you know you are in Texas because Hallettsville, the only city named such in the world. You also might recognize the courthouse. Lavaca County Courthouse is seen in the famous movie Best Little Courthouse in Texas or something.
But Goliad's been on a mission for years, hundreds of years. These historic missions have been around since 1749. That's about 258 years before these little tigers were born. Notable resident Bum Phillips would be loving the football these guys are playing now. Coach John Mars has this little school playing super. Just 5 wins in the 3 years before he arrived. 18 wins since, with almost half a season to go. These Tigers ready to roar into the district season. New Goliad principal Russell Kowalik. If that last name sounds familiar, it should. His son Nate threw for over 3,500 yards last year and 41 touchdowns. But he did it for Hallettsville. When Papa Kowalik changed jobs, he brought his gunslinging boy with him. In fact, Nate also helped Hallettsville to the 2013 state baseball title as a sophomore. Now, though, he's wearing tiger stripes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The Brahmas, meanwhile, started 0-2 without Kowalik to lead them, but are unbeaten since and averaging 45 points per game behind new starter Brent Motal. And these Bulls would love nothing more than to tame the Tigers and gore their former matador in the process.
You're not here for the show. You're not here for the hype. If they want to talk, let them talk. If they want to take cheap shots, let them take cheap shots. Walk away from it. You play it the right way, put your helmet where it's supposed to be, your shoulder pads where they're supposed to be, you fly to the ball, you do things right, you do it classy. And I mean fly to the ball.
1, 2, 3, 4.
First half, Goliad opens at home with a 7-play drive. Kowalik to the end zone? No, it's picked by old buddy Brandon Caraway. Maybe just used to throwing it to that color.
Have you had trouble saying go blue instead of maroon?
A little bit, but go blue. Go Tigers.
Very early second quarter, after a Hallettsville field goal, Goliad goes to their other new guy, Kiki Hill, number 7, a transfer, just got eligible this week. Let's see what he can do.
He gets up to the end, and he is going to town, ladies and gentlemen.
Go and learn today. 57 yards, 6'3", Tigers with the missed PAT, but still with the lead. Goliad looking for more, but Hallettsville's Jacre Porter says, remember me?
Oh, get the ball!
The beast mode sack. That ends the drive. 30 seconds before half, Goliad would love to add something.
Air it out, and it is a touchdown.
Colby Zamwow, 26 yards, big-time play just before the break. 13-3, Tigers clawing.
0-0. You understand? Yes, sir. He's the reason we're playing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Guys, Mr. Vargas today, he said, what was the big word?
Win.
No. Our big word is, whose house?
Our house!
Whose house?
Our house!
Let's take it to him, you understand?
Yes, sir.
Whose house?
Our house!
I put it on the 30 like y'all told me to, and it went over 6.
Second half, Tigers bring the D. John Dorsett, the sack, Trumbo. Matthew Haney recovers. Goliad looking to go. They would. 10-play drive. Kiki Hill again. Needed Ivy at halftime. Needs nothing here. His second TD run, 19-3. In fact, after another Thrill Hill touchdown, Brahmas see red. Finally charged back. Motal deep.
The Browns has it at the 20, and he's in the end zone.
Hits Jamario Browns in stride. 51 yards, 26-9. Now they need some stops. But on the ensuing kickoff, Orion Hosey. Uh-oh. Hey, oh, get out of the way. Wow, look at this. He gone to the house. 33-9 Goliad. Ball game. 40-23 is your final. The Nate Bowl goes to the Tigers.
It was weird. It was a whole lot different. Coming on the field and seeing them was different, but all week I knew it had to be about the team and not just me playing my old school.
They were giving him a hard time, internet, phone calls, but you know, he fought through it in practice. We told him forget about it. We're going to show him on the field what we're all about and how we practice, and it definitely showed tonight.
It was really almost too much because after sitting out 6 games, I mean, you just try not to want to do too much because that's when you mess up. You just want to play your game.
His attitude every day he came to practice was number one, and he worked well with our kids and mixed in. And I think a lot of that has to do with our team concept because the team stayed right with him the whole way.
Hey, forget old school. It's Nate's new school that wins tonight, baby. Photographer Jeff Irwin and producer Clark Rowe. I'm Neil Beasley with your DQ. Big game of the week.
Next week, the Battle of the Bulldogs, Carthage and Kilgore. Coming up next, the play of the night.
So your policy looks good. Is there anything else?
Why'd you buy my husband a Falcon?
I didn't get to a better state.
Down to the Golden Triangle region, and it's Beaumont Central, Nederland, down to the wire, down to the goal line. Under a minute, 4th and goal. Central can take the lead with the score, but the Nederland defense holds strong on 4th down, and they get the win, 39-36. Dogs in a goal line stand with a win over Beaumont Central.
So, the play of the night, we had so many choices. Got to give it to Channel View. Jalen Hurts, the Hail Mary to Bryant Valentine, and it's Valentine's Day in October. 49-48. What a win over Galena Park North Shore, who loses again this year, but they're good enough to even make a run and win the state title.
Hey, you better keep an eye on that. That's another team out of that greater Houston area.
And wanted to mention the DeWitt County Showdown. Cuero beats Yoakum. They've been playing that forever, and they stopped a 4-game win streak. They could have had a 4-game win streak, which would have been the first time since the 40s, but that didn't happen tonight.
Huge night in the Coastal Bend region, highlighted, of course, by the Refugio matchup with their win in overtime over Shiner. And then, of course, we talked about that other big matchup in that topsy-turvy 25-5A, with Cedar Park Vista Ridge winning to go to 6-0 with their win over Vandegrift. Hey, there's still a lot of football left to be played in that district before all is said and done.
You think Vista Ridge took the next step tonight?
They did. They still have to go to Georgetown, and they still have to play Cedar Park at the end of the year. There's a lot to be settled yet still in that district.
Really great to hear from Coach on our show. We appreciate him for that. Well, we only have 4 weeks remaining in the regular season and then the playoffs. For Craig Way, I'm Rick Renner. Thanks so much for joining us on High School Scoreboard Live. Make sure you enjoy your college football weekend with the Red.
Nominate your favorite Texas